My dear friends, Salamun Alaikum. It's great to be with you. I hope you are doing well your side. So, I would like to pick up on a particular term, and in the series of YouTube videos that I put out, I also, in fact, look at the terminology of the Holy Qur'an. I look at the concepts, at the ideas, and there's one idea in the course of translating the Quran that I came across, and it was a slightly challenging idea to work with because it would appear in one sense here and then in a different sense there. And the term I'm talking about is the term shackles, right? The English word shackles or shackle, not shekels, not the currency, of that country, but shackles, the stuff that people have around their neck, and that they're tied to, that tie them down. And so I looked at this word. Now, the Quranic term for shackles is aghlalan, aghlalun, aghlalun, aghlalun. Alif, ghain, lam, alif, lam, aghlalun. That is the plural. It means shackles. But the singular of the word aghlalun, remember that word, that's an extra word in your dictionary, is ghillun, ghillun, ghain, lam, double lam. Ghillun, aghlalun, ghillun. And it's a word that just came up once too often for me. It's a word that I thought would come up once and it's easy to translate. But then I realized I have to do a bit more work on this word because this word is not just as it may seem. Now we all know that aghlal or shackles, what they are. It's what somebody who's enslaved or captured or imprisoned wears around his neck. And the verses in the Qur'an, in fact, at the very base, at the very root, it uses the word shackles to describe the sorry lot of the people of Jahannam. And so it describes them as carrying shackles, as walking with shackles, shackled with chains around the ankles. And so the very basic idea that the Quran uses of the word shackles is that it is something that is to be a condition in which the unfortunate inmates of the fire of Jahannam will suffer, and it's an ugly scene. I can show you some of the scenes that are described here. It's scary. It's really off-putting, if you want to describe it like that. And let me look at the first example, chapter 76, verse 4. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna a'tadna lil kafirina salasila wa aghlalan wa sa'ira. For the obscurers we prepared chains, shackles, and a blazing inferno. What a scary and fearsome scene. Here's another example, chapter 34, verse 33. It says here, وَجَعَلْنَا أَغْلَالًا فِي أَعْنَاقِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And I'm just going to read the last two lines. Okay, let's look at the entire verse. It's a beautiful verse, and I'm going to read the entire verse. The verse says, the oppressed will say to the arrogant, rather it was your constant scheming day and night, urging us to deny God and set up rivals to Him. And they will hide their regret when they see the punishment. We will place iron collars around the necks of the denialists. Will they not then be repaid for what they did? So that word shackles coming up there again. Next one, the last one, where it is used in its literal sense, right? Bismillah ar-Rahman. إِذِ الْأَغْلَالُ فِي أَعْنَاقِهِمْ وَالسَّلَاسِلُ يُسْحَبُونَ. With shackles around their necks and dragged by chains. Let's just look at the previous verse, the build up to those. Those who deny the scripture and what we sent our messengers with will indeed know, with shackles around their necks and dragged by chains in boiling water, then in the fire will they be burned. Oh, wow, what a scary... and I want to actually mention that I have a very a viewer with keen insight into these verses who actually produced a small essay on these fearsome images of Jahannam and then the beautiful images of Jannat, and I will share that in a future video. And there's a psychological basis to why the Quran has to present these images in such a fearsome way, but I will leave that for another video. Now we come to the other way in which this word shackles is used. You see, let me give you first a story. I've got two guys, right? Their fathers are with them, and they are going to cross one of the most dangerous parts of the Amazon forest. This is a scenario, just work with me here. They're going to cross one of the most dangerous crossings in the Amazon forest. So they will be crossing extreme, wet, soggy, the floor of the jungle. They will be crossing through dangerous territory where there might be dangerous cougars or dangerous cats, or even crocodiles or piranha if they're going to go through the rivers. And the question is, these two guys are sending their sons across. Just forgive me that I'm using the sons for now, the ladies, but it could equally be ladies. But let's just take two guys. Fathers are sending their sons across. The strategy of father, let's call the father number one, Abdullah. Abdullah's strategy is, he is going to provide his son with every conceivable need that he might come across. So let's say this father knows the jungle, he's been through it for some reason, and he knows what lies in. And so he loads on his son a small tent, right? And then he gives his son a saw, a saw to cut with. Then he gives his son a knife, and then he gives his son some matches, and then he gives his son, some sort of bed to elevate himself from the ground. And then he gives his son, because the trip will take him more than 2 weeks, he gives his son several cans of food, and he gives his son, enough water, because the water might not be clean through this forest. And he gives him like 20 liters of water, or 50, 2 weeks of water. It's a lot of water. And he sends his son packing, and the son takes this big, backpack, puts it on his back, and ties it around, in whatever way, and starts the journey. This is Abdullah's way in which he's going to guarantee his son's crossing across the dangerous Amazon forest. Stay with me, the story continues. Now we have person B. Person B is, Hassan. And Hassan has a different strategy. Hassan tells his son, listen, it's going to be dangerous out there. You're going to encounter, big cats. You're going to encounter reptiles. There will be fish, dangerous piranha in the water. It might be very wet. You might have to sleep off the ground. There's these big snakes, what do you call them? And so he takes a different strategy. He tells his son, listen, I'm going to give you 3 things. Flint to start a fire. And I'm going to give you a book that will show you all the plants that you can eat. And I'm going to tell you how to build a small, boat, should you need one, or how to erect a small bed, should you need one. And here's a saw or a knife, right? That's it. That's all. No water supplies, no food supplies, no beds, no, ready-made tents, nothing of the kind. He's got to go and build jungle shelters using the leaves of the trees. So Hassan's son also sets off across this 2 weeks trek across the Amazon forest. Now, the first son, the son of Abdullah, he carries more than something like 20 or 30 kilograms, in pounds. I guess we're talking about 60 pounds or more. A water alone is going to be 10, 15 kilograms, about 25 pounds. So would you say that the son of Hassan, the one who's carrying light, but with a book and with knowing what to eat, or person number A, the son of Abdullah, who has everything on himself, on his back, he knows nothing, will complete the trek, the crossing of the terrible, dangerous jungle successfully? You see, the problem with why, I don't know if you agree with me, but my suspicion is, and I feel very convinced about it, is that person B, the son of Hassan, stands a better chance of crossing the jungle. Why? Because person A, Abdullah's son, is not even prepared for the unknown, let alone being fully equipped. But also the weight that he's carrying is going to weigh him down, and to walk through the terrible forest is almost impossible to complete 2 weeks of walk with this thing on your back. And if you should by any chance, encounter any disease or gangrene or foot injury, whatever, the son of Abdullah has this book with all the basic information. A book is much lighter than carrying the actual stuff. Do you understand? Do you know where I'm getting to? Let me get back to the verses. You see, the Qur'an describes the person that is encumbered in this life as an enshackled person. And the Qur'an describes those who are astray, those who deny the Prophet, those who deny this message that the Qur'an brings. It describes them as they cannot believe in you, Muhammad. They cannot accept your message because they are enshackled. They carry too much weight of what their culture, what their teachers, what their masters, what they are supposed to do. They are drowning in the customs and in the culture and in the fitting in, requirements of their culture. Now look at this. Let's look at this verse, and then you see if it's starting to make sense what I'm getting at. And we need to read this full verse, 157. Now we're moving the word shackles, aghlalan, now from being literal in the first few verses to being now metaphorically used. Let's see. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي. Let me read the English to save a bit of time. Those who follow the unindoctrinated messenger prophet, whom they find written about in the Torah and the Gospel. He instructs them with a common good and keeps them from what is baseless. He permits them what is wholesome and forbids for them that which is foul. He lifts from them their burdens and their impediments. Now the word impediments there, I want to just tell you, that is the word shackles. That is the word aghlalan. So he lifts from them their shackles. He lifts from them their burdens, and he lifts from them their shackles, which they had to bear. The cultural burdens, my dear friends. The fitting into society burdens, my dear friends. The I must eat this food, and I must do that, and I must dress like this, and I can't do that, and I have to make the salah exactly like this, and I have to make the hajj exactly like that, and I have to... Those who endorse him and honor him and support him and follow the illumination which came with him. What is the illumination that came with the Prophet? You see, An-Nur, وَاتَّبِعُ النُّورَ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ مَعَهُ. The nur that came with you. We are talking about the text, the book, the Qur'an. Follow the illumination which came with him. They indeed shall flourish. Wow, what a powerful verse. But you have to see that meaning, that we are liberated, my friends. We are liberated. This Quran liberates us from the cultural stranglehold, from the aghlal, from the shackles which your culture, your priest, your community, unfounded cultural impediments, cultural imperatives that you are forced to bear. And I'm not talking here about being decent, wearing clothes and being respectful and greeting. Those are not impediments, my friends. When I'm saying impediments, the cultural shackles, then it is the things that you are expected to do, the things the rituals you are expected to observe, the rituals that are unfounded. And if we look, for example, at a few of them, the absolute and ludicrous emphasis on minutiae in the rituals. Let's say, for example, the salah. You cannot just make salah. You make salah in a particular way. There's 1,000 rules on how to connect with God. And salah in the Qur'an is just simply to connect with Allah, to have liaison with Allah, to have a true and deep connection with Allah, but also to have a connection with your people, with your community, to connect with the requirements which Allah wants, because it starts there. You cannot connect with Allah on a metaphysical, spiritual level if you are not upholding the parameters which Allah, what God sets up. So connecting with God is connecting with the parameters firstly, and then connecting at the spiritual, metaphysical, soul level with Allah. But no. What they've done is they've piled on a 1,000 requirements. What is salah? Salah is no longer a connecting. Salah is now, and I've heard people say this. Forgive me, those people who use this term. I heard somebody say, "Oh, I must just go and get my salah done. Wait, I can come and sit now, but let me just get my salah done. It's a chore. Salah is a chore." You can tell me if I'm talking nonsense. Salah has become a chore, and it is a chore because we have made it an impediment. We've made it a burden to bear. And here the beautiful verse 157 says, those who follow the unindoctrinated messenger. Now, ummi, ar-rasul nabi al-ummi, that word has often been mistranslated as an illiterate. What a stupid translation to say that my prophet is illiterate, because an illiterate person is also a person who knows nothing. How can you say my prophet is illiterate? My prophet is ummi, he is unindoctrinated. He is not touched by Christian doctrine. He is not touched or shaped by Jewish Talmudic doctrine. He is untouched by all these man-made isms. He comes in as a pure messenger, prophet. And Ummi, Rasul al-Ummi, is an unindoctrinated, pure-hearted messenger prophet. And then beautifully the verse goes on to say, whom they find written in the Torah, he instructs them with a common good. That is what we are here for, and keeps them from what is baseless. What a simple religion. What a simple religion. We are here to observe what is in everyone's common good. Ya'muru bil ma'ruf. He didn't say ya'muru bil fara'id, wajibat. No. He didn't say you are being instructed with all the farals and the wajibs and all the sunnahs and all the makruhs. No. Ya'muru bil ma'ruf. He instructed them with a common good, ma'ruf, and keeps them وَيَنْهَاهُمْ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, from what is baseless. Anything that has no basis to it, anything that cannot be linked back to either a clear command from Allah or from what is rationally, logically makes sense, is baseless. It is baseless. It is what we call munkar. So the Prophet steers us away from munkar, from baselessness. He permits for them what is wholesome, what is good, what is helpful, what is genuine, what is beneficial, and forbids for them that which is foul, non-beneficial. So if something is beneficial, we do it. We consume it. If something is non-beneficial, we don't consume it. Simple. We don't have to have conferences on whether crayfish is haram or halal, or whether, calamari is halal or haram, or whether, whether beef is halal or haram. We don't need those things. We stay away from that which is foul, and we consume that which is beneficial. Then comes the important part. He lifts from them their burdens and their shackles, their impediments. So all this unnecessary rituals, all this unnecessary social pressures that we find, that we experience, before we are truly liberated as people of Qur'an, true mu'minun, all these impediments have to be shaken off from a pure Qur'an religious perspective. These are the rituals, these are the unnecessary things that you feel attached to, that you cannot live without, that you feel your day is incomplete if you don't do it, that you feel you're going to go burn in hell if you don't. You need to take all that, my brothers and my dear sisters, and just put it down. Just put it down. That is what the Qur'an says. That is what the Qur'an says. The Qur'an says, these burdens of yours that are unconnected to Allah, that is nothing to do with wholesome or beneficial, that is not in the common good. That, you see, there the qualification is there. The qualification is clear. Those who endorse him and honor him and support him and who follow the illumination, the Qur'an which came with him, they indeed shall flourish. But now people want to say, no, the illumination includes Bukhari's book, that book came 300 years later. No, it includes the book of Kulaini, it came 500 years later. So all of this illumination, Bukhari is also a bringer of illumination now, my friends. Muslim is also a bringer of illumination now, suddenly. People who live 500 years after the Prophet are now bringers of illumination and say, no, but they're bringing the message of the Prophet. Don't lie to yourself, my friends. The words in Bukhari are not the words of the Prophet. Just as much as my neighbor cannot speak for me without bringing evidence. He can say I said so, but it counts for nothing. My neighbor cannot speak for me. And even though he might be the most honest, truthful man in the world, my neighbor, nobody has the right to speak on my behalf unless I've given them authority to speak on my behalf. Otherwise, you need to change all the law books. You need to change all the law books. If you want to say hadith is the word of the Prophet, it's not the word of the Prophet. It's reported to be the words of the Prophet. And for that, we can respect it. But it is not. Please do not say the hadiths are the words of the Prophet. They are reported, they are ascribed to the Prophet. And as a legal text, it has no value. Let me look at the third way in which this word aghlalan. Okay, so the first use of the word, this is turning out to be a longer video than I expected, but the first meaning of the word ghillun or aghlalun is the shackles, describing the future scene in Jahannam, in hell, where the obscurers, the oppressors, the Netanyahus of the world, where they are walking around with shackles, and all the Arab kings who are following him, they will all be there shackled together. Inshallah. Because otherwise there would be no fairness in this world if I don't see them in shackles one day. They are there. That's the literal description of the word shackles. The second description of the word shackles is the social, reproductive social norms that have zero value and zero foundation and zero basis. Whether you're a Hindu, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Sunni, whether you're a Shia, you are given all these shackles to put around your neck. And what they are telling you is, no. If you don't know all these books, hundreds of books, you will not understand your deen. You will not make sense of the world. And that's why we give you these books. It's like sending Abdullah's son through the jungle with half a ton tied around his shoulder, versus Hassan's son, who goes with one book with simple instructions and with guidance and with one or two tools. You see, the Qur'an is that book. It gives us parameters, what to do, what not to do, and some simple ideas to make it through the jungle. It doesn't place 100, 200, 300 volumes of hadiths on our back. It does not do that. The third way in which this word aglalun or ghillun is used is in a very interesting third way, and that is in the way in the word ill feeling or bitterness. Now, this is the third way that I see this word ghillun being used, and the translators more or less all agree on this meaning, and so I'll go with the majority. Is that the Qur'an describes that as a very negative trait, that bitterness, that not animosity, that kind of nasty feeling, right? And I'll get to the wording now of the verses, and you can see. And it describes a sort of anger in this world. And I want to tie the two. I want to actually say the person who carries all these baggage of hadith, who has an impossible standard to uphold, because nobody can make salah perfectly, you're always going to be judged. Nobody can do anything right as a Muslim. Your scarf, if you're a woman, will never be right. If you cover your head, no, you should cover your face. If you cover your face, no, you should cover your eyes. No, you should put on gloves. And it is never perfect. And if you do all of that, then they say you must keep quiet also, because a woman's voice is part of her aura. I've heard that. So you will never please the hadith people. You will never please them. There's always going to be a hadith which they scratch out of the million hadiths, and they will judge you with it. Now I want to connect these two. These aghlalun, these burdens, these unfounded burdens, which we are loaded and saddled with and tied down with in this world. These burdens, in fact, cause a type of a bitterness in the Muslims. We have a word here. We use it. The word is, if you're not a South African, you won't know it. There's an English word involved, jajarah. It mixes two languages. It means you are very judgmental. You are judgmental, and the judgmentalness comes from a bitterness which you carry deep inside you. And that bitterness comes from a deep resentment which you carry inside you, that you are basically your parents, which maybe the priests are, they've never been happy with you. You have always been, and I want my psychology viewers, please, to add your comment. I see the Muslim global nation as an abused nation, abused psychologically abused people, because they've been given an impossible task, an impossible religion to live, and they are being judged for not upholding that impossible standard. And so they've developed a certain type of bitterness. Let's look at the verses here. The first one says, وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِمْ مِنْ غِلٍّ إِخْوَانًا عَلَى سُرُرٍ مُتَقَابِلٍ. All ill feeling, all ghil shall we remove from their minds, brothers facing one another on sofas. That is the final outcome. Let's look at another one. وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِمْ مِنْ غِلٍّ إِخْوَانًا عَلَى سُرُرٍ. Right, that one I think we've seen. Then there's this one. And those who come after them will pray, Our Lord, forgive us and our brethren who preceded us in faith, and leave no resentment in our hearts. Ghillun, leave no resentment in our hearts. To those who have believed, Our Lord, you are loving and kind. Can you see where it's going? This is that once we throw off the yoke of this unnecessary shackles, we make place in our hearts for love, because the judgment go out the back door. When we take these shackles off immediately, the judgment, that attitude of being judgmental is taken away. And here's another example, 36:8, the famous Surah Yasin. Why would they not believe? Because shackles we placed on their necks, up to their chins, their heads forced upwards. Because of all the millions of rituals, and because of all their pagan beliefs, because pagans are the worst, pagans, let me not exclude the pagans from all those who are obscurers of truth. The pagans are caught in a myriad of rituals. When to touch the deity, when to go pray in the temple, what to say, when to say it, how to say it. You will not believe, if you read the books about pagan religions, you will see that pagan religions are the religions that are filled, that are piled on with rituals. You have no free time because you need to every day commemorate and think about and act to commemorate some deity. And so Islam has never been a ritual-filled religion or deen. It's a deen. It's a deen. It's a doctrine. It's a way of life. It's an outlook. It's a lifestyle. And the words, the message is simple. Practice that which is in the common good. Avoid that which is unfounded or baseless. My friends, so interestingly, I want to conclude by saying that this word ghil appears in many places in the Qur'an. Aghlalan, ghillun. It's first of all literally applied as the word shackles when it refers to the Netanyahus of hellfire, of the kings of Arab kings of hellfire. But it also then refers to figuratively to the shackles which those who are emburdened by their priests, emburdened by their culture, emburdened by unfounded and baseless rituals and practices. The shackles that those people feel, and the shackles that those people use as excuses to come to the Qur'an, to take the simple message. And then the third way in which this word ghillun is used is to illustrate, to denote or to describe a sense of being judgmental, of having ill feeling, of being hateful, of angry towards somebody else. And I've linked those two last ones. I've linked them. Why would the Quran chose the same word, my friends? So I link it and I see the burdens, the false burdens, create the ill feeling, the judgmental nature that Muslims suffer. And I want the psychologist here to help me and to say to me, look at the Muslims. They are given an impossible task. They must fast 16 hours, then they must make Taraweeh, also 20 rakats, then they must go home and go to work tomorrow morning and work on the roof in the sun. It's the middle of summer. Is that a realistic task? Are we creating an angry community? And is the Muslim that angry community that the Quran refers to with ghillun, with anger issues in their hearts? And is it because of the false things that they've been imposed on them that they've become this angry community? My brothers, I will conclude on that point, and let me know in the comments what you think. If you like this video, I never do this, but I again ask you, please tick on the like button if you like this video. And I also want to ask you to, if you think it's shareable, if you think it's not, if you think somebody would like the content, share it with somebody, and then do subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. Shukran. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.